throw payroll at their problems. I got a problem. Let me just hire someone to fix it. And that never works out. And then they're surprised. No, don't throw payroll at your problems. And so what you do is you have to really think about organizational design, which is part of, the talent strategy model is what work needs to be done and how do we get that work done?
Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome back to the Multiverse Leadership Podcast. What is the biggest leadership challenge you have faced in your career, and how did you overcome it, or are you still trying to figure it out? Today, I'm thrilled to have Jennifer Thornton on our podcast. Jennifer is a seasoned leader with over 20 years of experience in talent strategy and leadership and development. She's known for helping organizations build high performance teams and adapt to change. Her insights come from a wide range of industries, and she's passionate about empowering people to grow and succeed. Welcome, Jennifer. We're excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be a great conversation.
Yes, I'm ready. So, to get started, we'd love to kind of have you take us on your journey, like how you got to where you are right now, what led you there.
So, today I own a talent strategy organization and we consult with companies around talent strategy, but no line is straight when it comes to living and thinking about goals. I started in retail and, very long time ago when, malls were kind of the happening place and places people wanted to be. And my dream was to work in the mall, and good news, my dreams came true. I got to work in the mall and sell clothes and meet customers and help people. And what I didn't know when I was young doing that is I was learning how to run a multi-million-dollar business. And I think sometimes we forget that, when you walk into a mall or a restaurant or a service-based industry, the people there are running multi-million-dollar businesses. They're making personnel decisions every day. They are managing budgets, payroll, hiring, coaching and developing, strategizing. In a service based environment, the show must go on. And always, no matter what, you still have to open the doors and figure things out. And as a young person, I just did it because you just figure it out. But looking back on it, I'm so grateful that I was able to have leadership roles so young because it kind of led into what I was going to do. Little did I know back then, especially growing up in a really small town in Oklahoma. And so, as time went on, I did more things and, grew my career and operations and all of that evolved. And I always was able to get my results through people. That was what I was known for, the ability to assimilate a team, ability to promote people and really, get my results through the ability to work through teams. And that led me into HR. And so I moved into HR because that's kind of was my wheelhouse. So midway through my career, I took a hard right and went from operations into HR and really focused on helping people build talent strategies with new brands, growing areas, all those things. And that was amazing. Did all kinds of different things in that role. And then one day I got a phone call from my chief people officer and he said, "Hey, ever thought about moving to Hong Kong?" And I was like, "What?" I was actually, this is funny. I was actually getting my hair done. I had my hair full of color, and I look at my phone and it's the chief people officer. I'm like, "Oh, hey, hi, what's going on?" And so I was like, "Well, what do you want me to do when I get there?" He's like, "Hell if I know, figure it out." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went on a short assignment. It was about 5 months to Hong Kong and worked on a project. But what was beautiful about that is it allowed me to get into international HR, which was the last chapter of my traditional career was international HR. And so from Hong Kong and mainland China, I headed over to Mexico and helped open our division there. And then from there, I went to London and helped open that division while maintaining HR responsibilities for those markets as we opened them. And so I learned a ton. I mean, you go from, living in the States and never spending more than like a week of vacation somewhere doing touristy stuff. And then you have to figure out how to work around just the different business cultures, language, all those things you have to learn to work around, which was really exciting. And so that's what I did. And then a few years after that, I woke up and said, "Well, I'm just going to try this on my own." And that was 8 years ago. And so 8 years ago, I launched the business I have today, which is incredible. And again, we help organizations understand where their business is going. And based on where your business is going, how do you have to structure your talent? How do you have to develop your talent? How do you have to look at talent to ensure that your team can deliver your goals? So that is how I got here on this podcast with you today.
That is a beautiful journey. There's so much to unpack there. I'm so excited. So I wanted to find out about from that you just told us HR across continents. You really had to have the ability to connect and really learn and understand people. You know, like how what was that kind of like for you having to communicate with so many different cultures? I know in America things are so diverse, but they're different compared to like other cultures, how they do things, how you talk to people. What was that like?
Some days it was really great, and other days I failed miserably. And, you just had to understand that you were visiting their world. And though I was an American working for an American company doing business in their world, it didn't mean that they should change everything to meet my needs or the company's needs. It was around finding what made sense. And it was a big part of my job was to think about how to take an American brand that's very well known and that culture and think about how do you drop it off in a new country and maintain that, but also understand what works and what doesn't work in that market. And so it was a lot of just, understanding that I didn't know anything about anything and being open. And, a lot of times I would have to take executives over to a country and, prepare them different things, just, how to act and, be respectful.
Before you
And
get
one of
here,
the,
don't do this.
exactly. But one of the first things I always told them, and this is what I learned, as weird as it seems to you that they're doing something, you are equally as weird to them. And
Ooh.
so when you sit down at a table and you're like, it's like, why are we using this? Or why are we eating this? They are thinking it is equally as weird that you think it's strange. And so this idea that you are two different people and that's okay. And one's not more or less than the other. We're just kind of here together to figure it out. And I have lifetime friends from all over the world from that experience. It was one of the best things I did that day was say yes before I thought about it. Like I just kind of said yes to him and he's like, you can't back out. And I'm like, sure, yes. And then I was like, oh gosh, what I say? I'm off to Hong Kong. But it was the best decision I'd ever made in my life to go over there. I learned so much about myself. I learned things about other people. I'm so much more open minded and just experiences that I could never have figured out on my own. So yeah, so I say if you're working across cultures and even in the United States, from one state to another, it can feel really different. And just know that what doesn't seem normal to you, you are equally as unnormal to that person.
Ooh, I love how you put that. You know, I'm thinking about this, how it really goes into businesses and how it helps leaders because when you're working in a company, every company is so different, structured so different, and the people are so different. But a lot of leaders don't, they kind of miss the point that how you went internationally to work with people and learn about them, that same thing can be taken into their companies anywhere. And that they should be doing that, learning about their people, working their business around the people. How have you experienced that with companies either here in the States or internationally to
Mhm.
communicate that with leaders?
So you see that every day. You can even have 10 people that grew up in the same city and you put them in the same room and there's going to be differences. And so I think it is as a leader, you can't think that you know it all. And I know we've been told that. Um, but
Yeah.
it's like, how do you ask the right questions? How do you say things that, you're honest with? Like you may not see it. One of the things I teach executives all the time when someone comes to you with an idea or a viewpoint and you're like, like, no, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I think it's horrible. You
Shot
don't
down.
yeah, right? You look at you, you're just hanging your head. You feel it, right? You feel it in your body. And you're not going to come the next time with this great idea because you learned your lesson. So one of the things I teach executives to say when someone comes to you with this idea that you don't like, instead of shooting them down, just be honest and say, I don't see it, but change my mind
Ooh, I like that.
because
I
it
don't
opens
see
up the conversation, right? I don't see it. You're honest.
Yeah.
But change my mind. I'm willing to learn. And you know what? Oftentimes people's minds are changed, or there's a middle thing that works really well. But that encourages people to come to you again. It also encourages them to have their ducks in a row before they come to you because they know they're going to have to talk to you. They're going to have a conversation. And so it's a really interesting phrase that changes a total dynamics of a group of people working together.
I love that because that's more of an open conversation instead of like shutting it down and closing it up, and then you're saying you don't care. Instead, you're opening up the floor to like, okay, let me listen to you, and then if you're listening, you'll start to understand if you really like it or not as well. I like that. I feel like this thing they should be teaching in school somewhere at Leadership Academy 101 or something. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself in my journey. Can we think our ideas are so, oh, what I say goes, but being a good leader, like you said, is just really opening the floor to really truly listen to people. Like I find that just amazing. I have to remember that one for myself. Learn something new every day here.
Hey, we all do. If we're human, we better be learning new things. And I think the other thing about
Yeah.
just that phrase is, again, you feel like you're honest because you don't see it, but it says, change my mind, like, help me understand, help me see it. But it phrases it in a way in which it's hopefully not degrading or patronizing. And if it becomes part of a culture and how you talk, then it's okay to have a different viewpoint, but you have to be open to hearing the other one. And it's okay to say, I don't get it. It feels not okay to me, but tell me, let me learn more. But yeah, it's really interesting when cultures start to think that way. What that organization's able to do, the kind of ideas that get brought to the table, and it's a real value because again you're able to understand other people who have different experiences, different viewpoints, maybe saw a different TikTok that you're like, oh my gosh, look at this trend, riding the subway into work and all of a sudden you see four TikToks on the same thing. You notice a trend, you go to work, you tell your boss, hey, I had this great idea about marketing this product, and they're like, that's the most ridiculous idea. Change my mind. Here are four TikToks that happened in 20 minutes. There's a trend, let's get ahead of it. But
Ooh.
those are the things that really allow you to start to do that and react quickly.
That really brings out the value and the creativity in the people in your company. So I know there's a lot of companies out there that don't operate on this level. Say if I was someone working in one of these companies right now, and I would love if my company could get to that level. Is there something that I could do to like help them get there, or is this something that an outside person has to do?
I think everyone in any role in a company plays a leadership role. And, it's never easy. It's never easy to kind of say, hey, I want to look at this a different way. But if someone shoots down your idea and they go, I think, nope, we're not doing that, just ask them, would you be open to me spending 5 minutes to talk to you about this and see if I can change your mind? Because most people aren't going to go, nope, you can't change my, like, it opens that up, and it makes them more curious, like, oh, you're really passionate about this, you want to change my mind, and you put that time limit in there. Can you give me 5 minutes to change your mind? So it's not like there's a 30-minute 10-point presentation on PowerPoint that we all have to schedule. It's,
Hope not.
can you get 5 minutes for me to change your mind? And then see where that goes and see how that starts to build relationships. And I promise, if you have any just half decent high level executive and they tell you no and you say, can I have 5 minutes to change your mind, I bet you they're going to go, heck yeah. And they're going to be excited that you kind of paused them and got them to stop and hear your passion. They still may not change their mind. That's okay. It's about the conversation.
God, I love that. It's so powerful right there. I'm gonna actually try that myself, and I'm gonna get
Good.
back to you.
Okay, please
Yeah,
do.
I never even thought of that. 'Cause I'm always so like, we have to do it this way. Why aren't you listening to me? Hello, but it's like at the same time not approaching them
Mhm,
in the right way or using the right language.
mhm.
Like you said, their time is very important. They don't have time to listen to me for so long, like 3 or 4 minutes, and opening up that conversation to have it better. I love that.
I'd
It
love
blew
to.
my mind just.
Oh, your mind's going, but I'm going to throw a little pause button on you because I'm going to talk to you about something you said that I think will be good. So, one of the things you said in that is you said, when they say no, I feel like they are not listening to me. That situation became about you, it was happening to you in your brain. One of the things I work really hard on with people is around this idea of self authoring. People are going to people, the world's going to world, it's going to happen. You choose how you feel about it, how you respond about it, how you think about it. So when you flip that and in your first thinking, no one's listening to me. Why aren't you listening to me? It's a very reactive, and it's happening to you. A self authoring leader would go, that's fine. That's their decision. Do you have 5 minutes for me to change it? So instead of becoming the person it's happening to, you're the person choosing how to engage with it.
Damn, I love how you put down the words. I've been having that conversation a completely different way in my brain for way too long. Till you saw that, you know, because I've been trying to figure that out a lot slower than from what you just said. That just kind of clicked. You just kind of opened up my whole world now to really not being so reactive to that. Thank you. I'm sure people out there are like, what just happened?
I hope so.
Because, whoa, I'm going to hold you to this. I'm going to try this stuff out.
Yeah, do. We'll
I
have a
believe you,
follow-up
though.
episode. We'll have part 2 when
Yeah,
you come
I do
back
believe
and
that.
you try all these things, and we talk about what worked, and we're gonna talk about what didn't work because some things will work and some won't.
Yes.
And so how fun would that be? Part 2. Y'all
That'll be
everyone listening, stay
amazing.
tuned. Part 2 is coming. We don't know when, but it's
Oh,
coming.
you're holding me accountable? Man,
Ooh,
okay, okay.
man. Yeah.
Accountability is a huge thing I'm learning about. So, yes, we're going to do that then. I'm going to take some good notes on this one. I wanted to circle back with you on talking about talent acquisition because I know also this goes with what we were talking about. As leaders, we just want to hire people for a job to do something to get off our plate, but not realizing that we need to hire them to help grow the company, not just do a job. How do you look and find those people that you know what unique traits do they have? Do you know they're going to be the people that help you grow instead of stay stagnant? I think I explained that correctly.
I got that. And I love that question. And I'm gonna back that question up a little bit more. So you think about what's the first stage in that? So the last stage is who am I gonna hire? Well, I guess the last is maybe who, actually making it. But that question is very much towards the end of the thought process when you think of talent strategy. So when you think of talent strategy to find out who I need to hire, you have to back up a little bit because what you asked is exactly how 90% of the leaders out there do it. They throw payroll at their problems. I got a problem. Let me just hire someone to fix it. And that never works out. And then they're
I don't
screwed.
want to do that. I'm
No,
scared.
don't throw payroll at your problems. And so what you do is you have to really think about organizational design, which is part of, the talent strategy model is what work needs to be done and how do we get that work done? Today's world is very different. And even in the last 3 years, at the last year, it has changed. 3 plus, 5 plus years ago, you had to hire bodies. You were like, okay, I've got all this work. I have to hire people. Sometimes those people worked in office, sometimes they were remote. Like you had to hire a traditional employee. And only when you had like a special project would you bring a consultant in or something like that. That world has changed. In today's world, when you start to look about the work that needs to be done, you have to start saying what work really creates a full-time employee and I might need to hire because it is full-time work. What work is part-time and so instead of taking 3 part-time jobs and thinking one person can have 3 hats at once and you're disappointed most of the time, well it's because you didn't give them the right work. Maybe it's like I need one full-time person but 3 part-time, or maybe I can take this work that's more of just the check the box stuff and I can offshore it so that the accounting director I hired isn't in their laptop clicking away. They're evaluating, they're analyzing my numbers. They're really, doing the work I need them to do. You can bring in consultants. You can bring in fractional leaderships. I provide fractional chief HR officer to several companies because they don't need someone full time, but they still need someone to provide strategy and to make sure the strategy is on the movement, but they might have someone that's at a different level that does the day-to-day management of things. And so you can look at AI. I mean, you're going to hire traditional jobs, you're going to have consultants, you're going to have fractional, you're going to have automation. And so that's where you start is you're like, what work needs to be done? How can I get it done the most efficiently? Okay, now that I have that map, who am I going to hire? And that's when you start to think about that. And hopefully, you also understand your culture, you understand who works best with you, and you start using some of that information to make those hiring decisions. But I always stress people to back it up because once you do that type of work, you know exactly who you need to hire because the work is so clear.
Ooh, I love how you put that. I'm trying to figure that out myself right now. And I've been noticing in the market now, there's a lot more, like you said, consultants and fractional workers. There's companies that are like example, I have a IT consulting business. and a lot of level 2 and 3 people, there's businesses that provide those to you now for a lower cost. And I'm like, wow, this wasn't the thing like say years ago. It's so
Mhm.
different now. And I'm entering this market. I'm like, what do I do? And I really have to try and strategize this correctly. And it can be very confusing. I want to hire the
Yeah,
wrong
and there's
person
no
either.
right answer. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's no right answer. And you have to try things, and some things will work and some things won't. If you're looking at small and mid-sized companies, one of their biggest challenges, or that biggest thing that keep people not up at night, is single points of failure. And you have small to mid-sized businesses have a lot of single point of failure if they're not creative in how they structure the work. You have that one person in accounts receivable, and that's that all they do, and they leave and they take all the passwords, they don't know where it is. And then you got to find someone. They have to then unwind it, and you're 6 months down the road and wonder why all your bills didn't get paid. Like, it's just a really, those single points of failure have to be really thought about. And you could still have someone who does that for you, but maybe, and especially on vacations and stuff, maybe there is a consulting offshore type situation that backs that person up, and so they can get help. They're not no longer a single point of failure. They can do the work at a higher level versus doing the day to day. So there's just so many ways to look at getting work done that we didn't have at our access even 2-3 years ago.
I love how you said that, like, taking the passwords with them. That's a real thing. I've seen that with some companies. When we consult, sometimes they're like, people don't understand. People don't know what they don't know. And like,
Yes.
it's always good to have a consultant because they can really help you get to where you need to be and fill those gaps of your understanding where that ends. Yeah, I'm scared that I'm gonna hire the wrong person. When I say that, I mean that I want to hire someone to do something that I could have AI or an automation do, so that I can have them do stuff that's challenging for them. They have a
Mhm.
job to do that they like to do, not just here's some busy admin, good luck kind of thing. I don't want to
Yeah.
have those kind of people in my company because it's not challenging. Where I'm not building leadership that way,
Mm-mm.
not
No, not
building
at all.
them that way. Yeah, and earlier you were saying that there's ways that you can find these people. What are some of those ways? Like
Network,
what things
network,
to
and
look
network.
for?
Yeah, to find the best people, you have to network. Who do you know? Um,
Do I steal them
you
from
know,
people? I mean, what?
Well, oftentimes people are looking, or it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a traditional employee, you have to think about what that means. If it's your first one, you've only have one hire, you've got, gosh, benefit things to worry about, policy. Like, you got to start thinking. Or is this more of a contractor or a consultant instead of a traditional employee? And that way you don't have to worry about those things. Now, there's other things you do have to, like, you just have to think about what's right for you. No, there's no right answer. um, but when you start to kind of go down that road and think about those, like, who am I going to hire? And you're out networking, you're out asking people, and you're meeting people. I go to all different types of things. Like, people are like, I don't have time to go to the luncheon. I don't have time to go to the whatever program talk. You never know who you're going to meet. And I will tell you, every single person who works on my team, every single one of them I met through someone I had met. No one, no job was ever posted, no anything. They were all people that I'd met through my network over the years. Sometimes there's one person I bring into some projects based on her incredible skill set in this very specific area. And so I love to bring her in on those types of projects. I met her 20 years ago when she was a recruiter from one retailer and I was a district manager. And we've stayed in touch. And she has an incredible skill set that I can bring in on projects now that she's a consultant. So she's kind of gone off like I have and become a, but we've known each other for 20 years, and we've built that and kept that. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that people forget about leadership is really, how are you in the market? Who do you know? What conversations? Because that's how you learn and know what's new and what's coming up, and how you meet the right person. But yes, sometimes you have to put postings out, and yes, you do traditional recruitment, but your best hires are people of people of people that you know.
Ooh, I love that. I'm starting to learn and see that myself now. because like you really know them on a different level. You're being introduced to them through a network of other like-minded
Mhm.
people. And I'm not starting to see that too. It's just very more human, more connected. Instead of like just putting a post out there and you're just hoping, using hopium, hoping for the
Yeah.
best. And you reel in all kinds of interesting people.
Yeah. Well, back in the
Yeah.
day when I was a recruiter a long time ago, we didn't. This will age me, very much age me. I was a recruiter before LinkedIn, and I remember when LinkedIn came on, and we were like, who would ever like put their personal information like that? Like, we just thought it was crazy. Like, I like signed up and had to get in line to see when I could actually get into LinkedIn. So I'm an OG LinkedIner. But back then, we had to cold call. We had to work our network. When you needed to fill a job, you started calling out. You call the people you knew. You're like, "Hey, I've got this position open. Here's what we're looking for. Who do you know?" Or you just started. And so it taught you to have a network because there wasn't a depository on the internet you could go to. And so, yeah, so you forget how powerful networking is. In every aspect of your life, networking is incredibly powerful.
I am learning and seeing the power of that, especially like the podcasting. So I meet amazing people like yourselves. We come on here, we have these conversations, and it kind of go down this learning rabbit hole. And it's
Mhm.
just so informative. And like I enjoy it so much. And that's how I started from here, and I'm slowly going to in-person network events now too. Even though they're really hard, like you're talking about earlier, I'm like, oh, I can just sit at home and find 1,000 things to do instead of actually getting up and going to that event.
Mhm.
But like you
Yeah.
said, I'm not going to find the people. And you don't know what opportunity may be passing up if I don't go out there and put myself out there, and it's scary. It's a little freaky, and I'm sweating right now a little
Yeah.
bit.
You're like, "Oh," you're pulling at your
Just
shirt like,
thinking
"Oh."
about it, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, is it hot in here, guys?
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, and what you'll find is you'll go to one, you'll meet someone, the next thing you go to, you run into them, and then all of a sudden you guys are on the same kind of
Yeah,
circuit, and I live in Dallas. I mean, I live downtown Dallas. It is a huge city. When I go out to events, there is a circle of 25 to 30 people that I see a couple of those out of that circle at every single event. We always laugh that Dallas is a small town in a big city, but the entrepreneur community, the business community, we're very active. Well, there's opportunity to be very active. And so, yeah, you just end up starting to meet the same people, and then all of a sudden you got friends, and it's not as daunting to go to these events because you know you'll run into someone, or you've showed your brain evidence that when you go, you meet someone, it's fine. Yeah, in today's world, the investing in networking in real life, in person, shaking hands. I know I sound like the old lady giving advice, but I'm
I feel
telling
you.
you,
I feel you.
makes a difference.
It really does. And it's hard at first,
Mhm.
trying to build that habit and like getting outside yourself, putting yourself out there. Just go talk to random strangers, but not knowing who you can talk to. It's scary.
Mhm.
Because I guess you can find so many things not to do, but you just add it to your schedule and you go do it. It's just keep doing it, keep showing up for yourself. And you're really building that part of your leadership up as well to be able to connect with
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people that are nervous to go out and start building their network, because you will need it someday. Someday you will need it. Someday something will happen and you'll wish you had built your network. That's, people will be like, "Oh my gosh, I got to do that." Blah, blah. I'm like, "What's your network?" "Well, I need to work on that." I'm like, "No, you should have worked on that 5 years ago." So when you go in and you don't know people and you don't know things, and I've had to really work on this myself, it did not come natural to me. And I came up with a couple of questions. I always think about what's going on in real time. So if I was to go an event this summer, I would walk up to someone, I'd hello, introduce myself. Tell me what do you got going on this summer? Any fun vacations? And then they start telling you about the vacation. Then you're like, oh my gosh, I've never been to that country. What did you love about it? And all of a sudden you're friends, or you start to find this connection that you both understand, or they can be like, oh my gosh, I went here. Oh my gosh, I was there last summer. What'd you do? I did this. Where are you going next? But always kind of think about what's the season, what's a good opening that just starts a conversation at the holidays. one of the questions I always use at networking where I don't know anyone or I need to start meeting new people. Because once you get the circuit going, then you got to make sure you keep meeting new people. You get, easy to talk about to the people you know. But I always say, hey, it's the holidays. What's your favorite holiday tradition? And they start talking about their holiday tradition, and all of a sudden you get to personally know someone. And so it's much better than, hi, I'm Jennifer, I do this or I do that. Like, just
Yes, I
just
noticed
make
that.
friends. Networking is just making friends.
I love how I don't think our audience noticed that, but how you said when you introduce yourself, don't just say hi, how are you, I am, or what you do.
Mhm.
Those are the most ineffective conversations I've had, and they just don't go anywhere.
Mm-mm.
And it's just you're just kind of like, hey, yeah, okay, next person. Okay, was it really genuine or authentic?
Mhm.
I love that. What's going on? What holiday events? I guess I write some of this stuff down.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, and it's easy. Like if it's, full on sports season, kind of when basketball and football and everything collides, you say, "Oh my gosh, it is sports season. Are you a sports person?" And then they can say, "No." Go, "You know what?" Then I said, "If you're not into sports, tell me what you're into." And so, and they might say, "Oh, I love football." Go, "Well, I don't know much about it, but it's always fun to watch." So you just kind of just jump in, but ask someone a question that makes them think and makes them start to have a conversation with you.
I love that. Now that I think about it, I start asking people, what are you doing out there to help other human beings? And it kind of throws them off. It kind of
Yeah,
breaks that. Whoa, what? They
yeah,
start thinking and really kind of digging deep to really have that engaging conversation.
hmm, yeah. Makes a
Yeah,
difference.
wow. It really does. So, what are some tips and tricks you can give people who are like, well, I don't know how to put myself out there. Why do I want to do this? How is it going to help me build my business? And what does this have to do with building my business and finding
Mhm.
talent?
Yeah.
What are some actionable things they can do?
So actual things. So obviously getting out, networking, and network in places that don't seem like, if you're an accountant, don't go to just accounting conferences.
Ooh,
Go to something else. Because you're just going to find a whole bunch more of you. You're not going to learn anything. You'll learn things new, but you're not going to really stretch yourself, right?
that
Because you
hit
just,
me really hard.
yeah. Like you're in IT. You don't
Yes.
just go to IT conferences. Go to something else or go to like something that's different, like a mixer that has all different things or different people at it. So that's one of those things. The other very actionable item is when you leave a networking event, always try to think about who are those one, two, three people that you really connected with. And it's okay to follow up with people who, on the surface, you cannot find any way you would have any kind of business connection. Those are always some of the best. But anyone you made a good connection with, follow up with an email. Say, it's just great to meet you. I love learning about, the holiday tradition of, making sugar cookies with your grandmother. Love to have lunch with you sometime. Or if you've been to 3 or 4 events in like a month and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have time for 4 lunches." I just send all of them and say, "Hey, I've met all of you at different places, but I enjoy connecting with you. All of you I think would enjoy each other. Are you guys up for all of us just having lunch together? It's 5 of us. It'll be fun. Let's all have lunch and get to know each other." And you just find creative ways to manage your own schedule because you still got to work. You can't just, be out having lunches every day. I wish that'd be a great job.
Right?
That'd be my job. Lunching. Yes, the lady who
I feel
lunches.
that's what people think we do already.
I know. I wish, right? No, that's not it. But just really get creative, but never walk away from an event and not say, "I'm going to follow up with this at least one person." And I always say, find that person that you see no connection with, because that's usually who you connect with. But then don't shy away from someone who you view as your competition. There's enough work for everybody. Bottom line, there's enough work for everybody. And you may have a client that's not right for you, and they may have a client that's not right for them, or you're going to learn from each other. And definitely always have people that, on the surface seem like competitors in your network.
Oh, I love how you just said that last part because I get that a lot in my industry.
Mhm,
Everyone's competing with everyone, but not understanding that we're human beings just trying to help other people.
mhm.
Not just always about the money, it's about the connection, how you can help and provide value to people. It's really It's a weird concept people don't understand sometimes, unfortunately. I thank you so much for that advice. Have to really take some notes and keep these in mind. Before we wrap it up today, I would love to know how people can reach out to you and what is some things you'd like to leave our audience with as well.
So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. It's Jen Thornton, ACC. I do have a newsletter that's the Talent Strategy Playbook, where every Wednesday I send out a newsletter on different pieces of how one can work on their talent strategy. And there's all kinds of tips and tricks in there. And then I also have a podcast, Let's Fix Leadership. And you can also reach me on through my website at 304coaching.com.
Awesome. I'll definitely put that down in the show notes so people can reach out to you a lot easier as well. And before we go, I have one last question for you. What does it mean to you to be a human being?
It's always so hard to answer a big question like that. That could be your network question. When you go out networking,
That's
you
what I've
could
been trying to
always
actually
ask
start
that.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because gosh, the things
They'll
you'll
be like,
get.
what? Huh?
Yeah. Well, and here's another little tip before I answer my
Yeah,
question.
no
Don't make
worries.
it so hard that it freaks them out. That's why
Ooh,
you got a great vacation, or what's your so
I feel
don't freak
that.
them out too soon. Maybe that could be your follow-up question, your second question.
Yeah. Before we
But for
leave, let me
me,
ask you this real quick.
exactly. I ask all my podcast guests. But for me, I don't know if I have some like perfect answer,
There is
which I
none.
think is about being a imperfect, humans are imperfect. So I think that's kind of part of it. But for me, as I get, in the grand scheme of how long the universe has been around, I get a millisecond of a blink. And for me to be a human is to respect that millisecond of a blink that my life is, and to try to do something that matters, and that's small. Some people have buildings with their names on it. I'll never have that, but meeting people and making their day a little bit better, I hope that that makes a difference, and that's what it means to be a human.
I love that very much. There's no wrong answer. The only wrong answer is if you don't answer at all.
There you go.
Yeah, everyone answers it so differently. And so far, everyone's answer, I've always learned something, kind of
Mhm,
get inside their mind, how they think about things, how they're strategizing it a little bit. So,
mhm.
yes. Well,
I
thank
love
you, Jen, for coming on here. I appreciate your time
it.
so much. I want to be cautious of the time coming up here. But yeah, like we said earlier, I'd love to have you back on here to have a longer conversation in the future. But thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me on this show. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, we will talk soon. Bye, Jen.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.